The one thing that we all have in common is that the snacking goes away. Then your insulin levels come down.
Yes.
And they stay down. And if you're not eating things that spike, a glucose spike, your insulin levels will stay constant. And that's when the healing happens. That's when the food obsession goes away. And that's when the weight loss happens without thinking about it. When I worked for Bank of America, I was making well over $200,000 a year. I make a fraction of that now, and I have to say I'm a lot happier. All the things that I thought I needed, I didn't really need.
All right, Robin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's always great seeing you.
Good to see you too.
I know you've had a little bit of trouble getting to Austin, but I'm happy you're here. You'll be here for the whole week scouting out for the conference, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. And so you and I got to meet, me and Harry got to meet the first time we went to KetoCon was July of 2022, 113 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But we had just moved to Austin and heard so many great things about your conference. And for us, we were brand new into the podcasting space. We had just launched the brand, and we figured like this would just be a great conference to learn, listen to the speakers, maybe network a little bit. And I mean, we were blown away. Like the way that you run the conference, it feels like every hour of the 3-day experience, there's just like one amazing speaker after the other. So for us, we were like kids in the candy shop because we got to listen to a lot of speakers, and then the networking of your conferences are so valuable that I think we legitimately got probably close to 30 podcast guests just from that alone. So 2022 was amazing. And then last year we were fortunate to come back, and then I was able to be a part of the healing panel that you did. And then Harry and I were also able to lead that regenerative agriculture panel. So we want to just have you back on the show because you've just rebranded from KetoCon to Hack Your Health.
Mm-hmm.
It will be late May. What are the dates in May that it's going to be?
May 31st through June 2nd.
Awesome. And we just wanted to have you back on the show because I think in-person events are just so valuable, especially as we continue to go more and more digital. I think people are really just craving that in-person connection. And luckily there's people like you that are putting in the really, really hard work to make these in-person experiences happen, because I know it's not easy. And I've gotten a little bit of insight into all the behind the scenes legwork, but yeah, we just wanted to have you back on just to, I would love to just for the listener, just to learn a little bit more about your backstory. I know you have a great journey of like improving your own personal health and nutrition. And then we'll get into the founding story behind Hack Your Health and KetoCon too.
Sure. Well, it is a backstory. It's a long backstory, but I'm going to do my best to keep it short.
It's a great backstory. Yeah. You go as long as you want.
I struggled the majority of my young life until I was in my early 40s with depression, food addiction, in and out of like intense exercise. I had PCOS. I had really, my HbA1c was super high, but no one ever balked at it. But I just kind of flowed in and out of, I was either dieting or not dieting. And when I wasn't dieting, I was binging. And so I had like serious food issues. And I was just always looking for the solution.
Yeah.
So I discovered low carb when I was in my 40s. And it took me several years of going in and out and in and out because I couldn't stand up to the social pressures at the time. Eating differently than everybody else. So in my family, it kind of became like, what's Robin doing this week? What's Robin, she won't eat what? So, but I was finding success with low carb. And then eventually it became more of a lifestyle to me. But once I found the ketogenic diet, the difference was when I was eating low carb, I was also eating very low fat.
Got it.
But once I found the ketogenic diet and added the fat back in, like everything's changed. So I immediately lost weight. The symptoms that I was having that were a result of insulin resistance that I didn't realize at the time were disappearing. And I knew that I found something important. At the time, I was a corporate banker. I was working for Bank of America, traveling 3 weeks out of the month, very high pressure, high stress job. I was managing a large team of people. And I really wanted to get out, but I didn't know how to translate my skill set. I didn't know how to like take all the things that I knew how to do and translate it into something that I could feel more passionate about. I was in a Facebook group about the ketogenic diet, and someone posted about needing a project manager. And I had no idea what it was, but I was so curious. I responded to the post, and I met the owner of Ketovangelist. And 30 days later, I quit Bank of America after 20-something years. No promise of compensation, but I felt really enthusiastic about getting involved in something where I could really learn new skills, dig my teeth into it, help build something, be part of something bigger than me. So I started working with Keto Evangelist, and we built all these different business lines. At the time, Brian had 4 different podcasts that were all very successful, multiple Facebook groups. We had over 500,000 people in all the different social media accounts, and mostly Facebook at the time. And we decided, let's do a live event. Because in those days, this was 2016, you couldn't go to a restaurant and order something without fries or a burger without people looking at you like you were crazy.
Definitely.
So we thought, we all feel kind of isolated in this. Let's bring all these people together and do a live event. It'd be kind of like everybody can learn, everybody can support each other, celebrate, what we've learned, and continue to help each other along the way. Brian knew all these people from his podcast because he had been interviewing these people. So we did the first live event in 2017. 500 plus attendees and 40 vendors. Those are round numbers. I never get it straight. 2017, 2018, 2019. And then by 2019, we had 3,000 people there and 120 vendors.
Wow.
So it just exploded, and it became everything that I did. So, we had all these other business lines. We had a certification platform for food product manufacturers, a coaching division where we have independent contractors, coaches that work for us under our branding and work one-on-one with people, and a retail brand that is not really retail in the true sense of the word. It's an e-commerce brand, Ballistic Keto. So everything was going really, really well. Of course, by then I was making money and we were doing great, and then COVID happened. And Brian came to me and he said, we've got 90 days and I'm going to have to shut everything down, because literally overnight, all revenue stopped. And we had to make some decisions about the event. The event was paid for, but there's no more revenue coming in. We can't do the event. So Brian and I talked it out, and I just decided, I'm not ready to quit. I feel like there's so much more work to do, and I don't want to go back to what I was doing before. I want to find a way to make this work. There's so many people that need help. So Brian and I drew up a contract, and I acquired everything from him. And that was right before lockdown.
Yeah.
I would not advise anybody else to do the same things that I've done, but maybe, it worked out. But so lockdown happened, and we had to cancel the event. And so for people who don't understand event planning, when you sign a contract for an event, they have language in the contract that says, if you cancel, then you forfeit everything you've paid them. If they cancel, they can honor your investment for the following year. Well, the city of Austin wasn't making a move, and it was March. Our event was supposed to be in June, and I had thousands of ticket holders and 120 vendors all wanting answers. And I did the only thing I knew how to do, or the only thing I felt I could do. I canceled the event. So that left me in a bad situation with the Palmer Center, but everybody else was paid, including the Palmer Center. The only problem is that we had a no refund policy, and people do not like no refund policies.
Definitely.
So we couldn't refund the ticket sales. We couldn't refund the vendor sales. And by the way, none of that money came to me anyway. It went to the previous owner of the company who had paid everything.
Yeah.
So I just had to figure out a way to keep moving. So we held off on the event. Obviously, we couldn't do it live. We did it virtually that year, which is a whole nother podcast conversation. And then we started, rebranding all the other business lines, waiting until we could do the event again. We couldn't do it in 2021. Too many restrictions. People were doing events, but we had to keep the vendors 6 feet apart. People had to be 12 feet apart. It was just no way to do a large event. So we punted again to 2022. In 2022, we brought back all the ticket holders and all the sponsors. Everybody who had made an investment in the event was honored. And this is the part that this is the part I would never recommend that people do. I felt like my name was all over this. This is my event. The people who have signed up and bought tickets and the vendors, they all know me. They've worked with me. So I honored their investment, but how do I do that? Because they haven't paid me.
Yeah.
And this event costs over $500,000 to do. So I cashed out part of my 401k and I made it happen. And that's how 2022 happened. We honored all the ticket sales. And if people couldn't come in 2022, we honored it for 2023. We honored all of the investments made by the vendors. And so everybody that was there, and new ticket sales, of course, and new vendor sales happened, was really excited about being there. So you were there in 2022. You saw it. People were just so excited about being together again.
People, it was like this breath of fresh air.
It
just
really
being
was.
there.
It was like a family reunion.
It was like a reunion.
Yeah, for people who have been coming year after year, people who we haven't seen in 2 years, people who you only know online. And the one thing about I think this is what keeps me going all year, is that when you walk in that door at this event, the energy of thousands of people who are passionate about being well, it's electrical.
It's electric. I was literally going to say that's the only way to describe it. When you walk through that conference center and you see the 100+ vendors and the speakers and the attendees and the center stage where all the main stage is, like, it truly is like a bolt of energy.
It really is. And so there's really nothing like it. When you go someplace where everyone there is passionate about the same thing and it's positive, there's no negative, there's no negativity there. It's like, it just lifts you up.
Yes.
So anyway, 2022 was awesome for that reason. It wasn't profitable. I mean, obviously, because I had to cash out my 401k part of it to make it happen, but we did it. Then we came back again last year. But what happened in 2022 is I realized I needed to rebrand if I was going to throw a wider net, because, I mean, there were about 2,500 people there that year. If I want this event to bring in more people, and I want to bring in more companies that have more value to bring to the consumers, the health seekers, how am I going to do that? Because the word keto was limiting me. I had companies telling me, my product isn't keto. I don't really think your community is a good fit for me. And then I had people, attendees saying, well, I don't really follow a ketogenic diet. This is not the right event for me. So Ryan and I were on a road trip with my daughter-in-law. Ryan is my son. Sorry. You know Ryan. I didn't say this.
So Ryan, you're in business with your son.
Yeah. My son Ryan runs the exhibitor sales, and he runs the expo hall floor during the event, and the team that works for him during the event. So Ryan and I were on a road trip between Florida and North Carolina with him, my daughter-in-law, and my granddaughter. And we're all thinking, what can we rebrand? What can we rename this event? And we're just like throwing names out in the air. And Ryan spits out Hack Your Health. And it was like, that's it.
That's the name.
Yeah. So I'm on my cell phone on I-75 going on GoDaddy buying the URL. And that's what we did. So we didn't want to, I felt like it was important to not lose traction with the KetoCon branding. I wanted to find a way to maintain what we had built, but continue to expand. So rather than completely rebranding, 2023, we only changed our tagline. So it was KetoCon, the science and stories of keto, to KetoCon, Hack Your Health. And then I just started peppering in Hack Your Health hashtags, Hack Your Health into the marketing, Hack Your Health into our messaging. And then this year we've rebranded fully to Hack Your Health by KetoCon. And that's that's enabled us to maintain our social media presence, our YouTube presence, all that kind of stuff. And now after this year, we'll completely do the switch over. But I was really afraid of losing the base and starting over.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where we are right now. What I didn't expect was, and this was naivete on my part, the word hack in the name has just brought on a whole new meaning to the event. So we're just drawing in a lot of people who are interested in biohacking. And so that brings a problem into itself, like I shared with you earlier. I think that there's a misconception that biohacking is only for the privileged because they don't understand that you don't need like a $15,000 cold plunge to be a biohacker or to biohack your health. And so I really don't look at this as a biohacking event. We still have our main foundation is really nutrition. I still have a banned ingredient list. We have a lot more food products there now, though. I mean, because the food products that are low carb and in the keto space have so many crappy ingredients that we won't let them in.
Yes.
There's only a select few that we will let in. And, I mean, we like to have like Holy Cow Beef, and they're cooking meat on the floor, and Pedersen's and that kind of stuff. And so we'll still have all of those things, but we're bringing in a lot more like experiential stuff too.
Yeah.
Supplements, cold plunge, sauna, red light therapy. We're going to be doing some like body weight movement classes this year on the expo hall floor. Like we've got an area set aside for that kind of stuff. So, wow, I just took What's Your Story to a whole new level, didn't I?
No, it's amazing. This is what people want to learn too. And I think too, to comment on the name change, as someone that's been there for the last 2 years, I think the name change makes so much sense because there's always been a really strong nutritional emphasis at the conference, but at the same time, it has felt more of like a general alternative health conference where people are learning about sauna and cold plunge exposure for the first time, and they're getting IV drips. And I think the name just allows you to cast a much wider net, like you were saying. And I think people actually thought you were going to go more in the carnivore direction just because the carnivore panels that you do are amazing because you're getting all the biggest carnivores at this conference. But at the same time, if you just went the pure carnivore route, that really pigeonholes what you're trying to do, where you want to branch in like all these different alternative health modalities too. Yeah. And I'm sure it's also just so exciting to have gone from 2 years of not being able to do this thing in person. Now you're actually able to like evolve the brand and expand and do all the things that you probably dreamed of back in 2017 when you started the conference to begin with.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Definitely are.
How would you like explain your passion to someone that's like, maybe they hear your story and they're like, but Robin, you could have just stayed in your job at like Bank of America and you didn't have to sell your 401k. And I know that this movement has had such a big impact on who you are. And you mentioned like the depression and the PCOS and wanting to lose weight. Like, how would you explain your passion for this movement and maybe doing something that doesn't logically make sense to someone that's like working a corporate job?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So the passion behind this is there's a lot of reasons. First of all, I was underplaying the word struggle when I said I struggled a lot. Struggle is not a strong enough word. So when I look back on those years, if I had known what I know now, I could have had a completely different experience. Now, I mean, yeah, I experienced what I needed to experience to get me where I am, and all things are meant to be and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of people in my shoes that are currently the age that I was that could benefit from learning these things now.
Yes.
So, like I've shared with you before, your generation, understanding the importance of nutrition now, you will be a completely different person at 60 than you would have been if you didn't know this. So I just feel like it's so important. And I've watched in my own personal family, I've watched people get sick and die because of their poor nutrition.
Yeah.
I told you my dad had MS. He struggled with food addiction his entire life, and I'm sure that behavior was witnessed by me, and I fell into it and all that. But when my dad was diagnosed with MS, he didn't change his diet, and the doctors didn't tell him to change his diet. And the last year of my dad's life, I watched him lay in a bed and eat nursing home food because that was all he had left. And I wasn't allowed to have a voice and to say what he was going to eat. So the feedback that I got from my family was, he's 80, he's going to die, just let him eat what he wants to eat.
Yes.
So I don't want to get emotional about this, but I'm going to. So my dad passed away last year. He was 82. He passed away just a couple of days after his birthday. And it was what he was eating that killed him and not the MS, because he wouldn't stop eating. He started aspirating. The food got into his lungs. He got an infection. That's what killed him. So if he had changed his diet with his diagnosis. He may have died at 82, but he wouldn't have been sick the whole time. I have cousins within 10 years of my age, younger. So I'm going to be 62 in August. So they're in their 50s with colon cancer, ovarian cancer, brain cancer. I mean, it's deep in my family, and I don't want to go down that road.
No.
And I don't want to see other people go down that road. And it can be prevented with lifestyle changes. So that's what keeps me doing this.
Yeah. It's so much more than money. It's about like spreading this fundamental information where like you think about if your dad had access to it or these different members of your family. And I know one of the coolest things is seeing you always kick off the conference with your granddaughter too. And I know that's super motivating, and you just had a grandson. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Like being able to be there with them for hopefully 20, 30 plus Hack Your Health conferences in the future. And there's nothing more motivating than that too.
Right.
And you also just think back to, you know, had you not made these changes, like you could have been down the same route that a lot of other family members, the route that they're going down now too. Yeah. And most people have the ability to take control of their own health, but it's like you said about your dad, his doctors aren't talking to him about this. And in Western medicine, we have this, it's almost like the doctor has all the control and we blanket follow exactly what they tell us. So if no one's talking to us about nutrition and lifestyle habits, obviously the patient isn't going to listen to it as well.
Right.
So it's powerful. I think about that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, having my granddaughter on the stage with me.
It's the best.
Yeah. I love doing that for a couple of reasons. One, because the energy and the angst leading up to opening the show and all the things that have to happen, you know, to make all of the production just like, okay, we're on. It causes a lot of, I can't meditate my way through that. I can't like calm myself. Having her with me calms me down. So I bring her up on the stage for two reasons. One, because she's freaking adorable.
Yes.
And she loves to say, welcome to KetoCon. But also because it calms me. So having her on the stage just kind of like distracts me from the fact that I've got 1,000 people looking at me and, you know, wanting answers. And I'll bring her back on the stage again this year. Yeah.
We have to. It's tradition, right? Yeah. And people don't understand as well. Like we've done very, very small events. Like we've done a couple 100-person events. And even for that, there are just so many unforeseen logistics like behind the scenes that people don't know, to the point where I think I was talking to you last year about, you know, congratulations, this was so amazing. Like the next day, you and Ryan are already planning for the next year's event. Like you said, it cost $500,000 to do this. There's so many moving parts. It's more than
$500,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's not even like when you kick off the event, you can just sit back and relax. Like there's things going on for all 3 days too.
Yeah.
So I'm sure having your granddaughter up there is a nice little like sigh of relief just to take your mind off of everything.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. There's always like last minute things like emergencies that, you know, need to be addressed. I mean, you experience that with Noble, just setting up a booth for a vendor. There's always last minute things. Then there's so many moving parts. Yeah. But I think your original question was, you know, what motivates me to keep doing this if it's not profitable?
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I'm making a difference.
Yes.
Really. I mean, I'm like I told you, I'm in my early 60s. I'm not ready to stop working. I feel like I have a lot more to do, a lot more to give. And for me, at this point in my life, if I'm not making a difference, then there's really no need for me to be doing it. There's no purpose in me doing it.
We need a mission. Yeah. And I think one of the really cool things about Hack Your Health as well is the different demographic of people that attend. It's like you'll see people like Michael Coomer, who is ripped, has like, it's probably like 6% body fat. And then you'll also see a mom who's maybe literally 50 pounds overweight, and she's going there because she just wants answers and doesn't really know anything about nutrition. And she's there like front of the stage, like just taking notes and listening and learning. So I think it's so cool how you're able to attract these different demographics that want to attend.
Yeah. That's always interested me too. So, I mean, our average age range is like between 35 and 55, but I see people much younger than that bringing kids. And I see people my age as well. So I really feel good about the fact that no matter where someone is in their health journey, that they can find some value in participating in something like this. The networking, for one, meeting people that you know online in person, meeting the owners of companies. So for the attendee to see Noble on the internet is one thing, but when they walk up to your booth and they meet you and they know who you are now, that's a totally different customer,
100%.
Totally different experience.
Yeah, there's like the aspect of like from the attendee, you're able to learn so much information, and then also you get such amazing A-list speakers that you're able to connect with these people that you've kind of like idolized from afar and learn from. So there's that benefit. And then also from just the attendee perspective, like I firmly believe that you can grow businesses like one handshake at a time. And a lot of relationships that we made because Noble literally launched a KetoCon, which was so cool. Like we literally got product in time the day before KetoCon. Like God's timing was perfect with that. And a lot of the customers that we met there who we shook their hands, they'd heard us speak, they've been purchasing on subscription since then. So our business has made like tens of thousands of dollars just from actually connecting with customers. Even like I don't know if you know Josh Creefols and his wife, they have a big nutrition coaching business online. I think they just went as attendees. We connected with them. They're one of our biggest affiliates for Noble because we met them at KetoCon and they got to hear us speak. So there's like all this serendipity from conferences and events that you can't really quantify. You just have to like purchase a ticket and trust it and just see what happens.
That's interesting that you say that. So, I mean, we work with a lot of different people online to help us promote the event. And so I think that they would consider themselves influencers. So they come to the event for that reason.
Yeah.
To meet companies like Noble.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think brands get it wrong where I think the initial reaction for a sponsorship is like, well, why do I need to go to an event when I can just run paid ads and do like thousands of dollars a day? Well, number one, I actually did the calculations because we didn't have enough product to sell, but based on the customer emails and people that wanted to purchase, we sold over $10,000 of product from that one weekend, let alone all the people that started listening to the podcast and started purchasing on subscription. So number one, I think those events are super popular. And also it's so much more than just sales. It's about actually like connecting with your customers and like making an impact through that connection too.
Yeah. People love to meet the owners of companies.
Yes. Yeah. It's just, what do you think it is about in-person events that are making a resurgence? Because I feel like obviously with COVID, things started to die down. And now I just, with millennials and beyond, I think people are really trying to find their communities and try and find people that are like-minded. Especially, I know for me, when I first went carnivore in New York City, it was very difficult. I was like the only freak that was chopping up a pound of ribeye and bringing it into the office. It was very hard to find people to connect with. But I guess that's what's beautiful about these events is like you're able to find a lot of like-minded people, kind of build your tribe and build in-person relationships.
Yeah. So there's so many things that go into this. First of all, someone who has dialed in their nutrition is working on themselves. They're looking to improve things. When you don't have the fog of poor nutrition in your brain, you're thinking more clearly, you're relating to people better, you're more intentional. So when you get a bunch of people like that in the same space, like we talked about before, it's electric.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot happening online. People are on their devices or on their computers a lot. And they're missing one-on-one connection. The same reason why a better podcast is one where you and I sit and have a conversation eye to eye instead of on Zoom.
Definitely.
It's just connecting with other people. And Zoom doesn't replace that. The internet doesn't replace that. Your phone doesn't replace it. I mean, I could get quirky about it. I mean, it has a lot to do with energy, of course.
Absolutely.
So I just feel that people are desperate for that. There's a lot of negativity coming at people from all different directions. I feel it. You must feel it.
Absolutely.
I mean, the political climate, the world events, all this, it can really drag you down. But when you're one-on-one with people who at least you have that in common, you'd find that you have a lot more in common with them because They're looking to up-level their lives.
Yeah.
And they understand that this is the foundation for it.
Yeah. Like you can basically assume that every single person that is attending Hack Your Health, they just want to put their life into a better spot. Maybe it's nutritionally, maybe it's learning a new health and wellness practice, but like you can assume that everyone is there because they want to get better. So you have that shared belief in common, and then you'll find that you can make really amazing friendships and relationships because you all have that commonality as humans too. Like I think I told you, we've probably gotten 20 to 30 podcast guests from Hack Your Health attending over the last 2 years, but we've also made a lot of amazing friends too. So like that in itself is priceless.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, it's
you just named all the reasons I keep doing it.
Exactly. And that's why when there's probably that part of your rational brain that's saying, am I really going to sell a chunk of my 401k? You're like, this is so much bigger than anything money can ever do for me. It's about making an impact.
Yeah. I was just thinking, when I worked for Bank of America, I was making well over $200,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not imagine ever not making that kind of money. I had built a lifestyle that money supported.
Mm-hmm.
I make a fraction of that now. And I have to say, I'm a lot happier.
Yeah.
All the things that I thought I needed, I didn't really need.
Yes.
My life is much less complicated. I have far fewer belongings. My wardrobe is a fraction of the price.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not at Starbucks every day.
Yeah.
I don't color my hair anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My nails aren't done. I mean, those are all things that I don't have a car payment. So all of those things were things that I thought I needed and that big income supported.
Yeah.
But when I walked away from it and started like dwindling down not dwindling down, but it's like kind of shaving away all those outer layers, I realized I needed a lot less to be happy.
Yes.
And so how can I afford to keep doing this year after year if it's not profitable? It's profitable enough to pay the people who work for me, to pay for the event, and to pay for me living a very simple life.
Yes.
And that alone is very fulfilling to me.
Mm-hmm. That's why they say more money, more problems, right?
Yeah. More money, more stuff, more problems, more payments.
And what is also the price of like waking up to get out of bed, being so excited? I know there's a lot of stress in what you do too, but way more than that is like you truly feel like you're making an impact because you're affecting thousands of people's lives in a positive way. Like I don't think people understand that feeling of waking up and getting out of bed and truly loving what you do, what price it's priceless.
Mm-hmm. It really is. So in comparison, I would get up at 5 in the morning, sometimes 4, to get to the gym, to get ready, to get on a plane, to fly somewhere. And while I'm traveling, doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Working till 7, 8 o'clock at night. I was making a difference in that I was helping the companies that I was working with, but it didn't feel very fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I naturally wake up by myself at 7. I don't set an alarm anymore. I have time in the morning to do what I need to do to take care of myself. I work all day, sometimes into the night, but it doesn't feel like it. And I don't have that feeling of pending doom that the axe is going to drop and the management is the top layer and they always go first. That's gone.
Yeah.
And all the other little things that I got rid of that were part of my daily habit that cost so much money are gone. So my life is just simple. And that also is very relatable for like nutrition. So when I was overweight and worrying about what I was eating, when I was eating, what I was going to make, all that kind of stuff, it took a lot of my energy. I literally do not think about it anymore. Mm-hmm. That obsession is completely gone. That freedom is probably the biggest freedom, even more so than leaving corporate America. Mm. So I landed last night in Austin at 8 o'clock, got to my Airbnb, didn't have time to go to the grocery store or get any food, but it didn't matter because I can skip a meal easily. I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning, went to a few meetings. It was noon, and I stopped over at H-E-B, got 2 things of ground beef and a couple of other things, went back to my Airbnb and cooked. And living like that in comparison to having to carry food in my bag, worrying about what, when, and where, complete freedom. I can't even, I've never even sat down and tried to think about the hours that I've gained, but it is hours.
Yes.
I think that's really why I have the capacity to work the long hours that I do now, because all of that bullshit is out of, it's not part of the picture anymore.
And think about how many people that they're saying, oh, you know, she's 62. You just accepted 62. You're like, oh, my best years are behind me. I'm just going to kind of ride off into the sunset. And you're like, no, you're building a startup that's like incredibly energy intensive and amazing and inspiring. Like, and a lot of that is because of the food that you choose to nourish your body with every day. And when you're metabolically flexible, you do build that freedom. It's almost like your body goes from what are the maximum calories I need to be effective to like, what's the minimum viable dose of calories to feel really, really good, which is amazing.
Yeah. The maximum, I remember thinking like, how much can I get away with?
Yes.
And now it's just like, it's not part of my thinking anymore.
Yeah. And especially, I don't think men understand for women, like just the body and self-awareness or self-esteem issues that they face. So even just like feeling so good about the way that you look, not having, think about all the hours you probably spent when you were overweight. Number one, not feeling good. Number two, like thinking about that as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was rough.
Yeah.
So I really wish that really wish that I had known then what I know now, but I may not have taken the path and been here if I had. So
yeah, it's like this dichotomy of, you know, that God has like the perfect plan for you, so you wouldn't change anything because all that pain you experienced makes you more relatable. It led to you doing Hack Your Health. But at the same time, you think to yourself, well, if I knew this in my 20s or 30s, there's so much pain I could have avoided at the same time. And like, if you're a millennial, it's like, well, you can get ahead of this stuff now because all this information is so accessible.
Yeah.
So you said that, so you tried going, was it low carb in your 40s or 50s?
40s.
Was it Atkins?
Yeah.
It was when the Atkins movement started getting more popular.
Yeah.
But
I remember people telling me, you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to kill yourself.
Yeah. But the issue is that you weren't eating enough saturated fat, right?
Well, it depends on what diet I was on at the time. So when I was doing Atkins, it was plenty of fat. But like I said, I didn't have the wherewithal and the confidence in what I was doing to withstand the social pressures against what I was doing. It was very fringe, and you know how society looks at fringe.
Especially at that time too.
Yeah.
So different now.
Yeah.
We're like keto and stuff, it's widely accepted, but we're talking about like the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's drinking. You're traveling 3 out of 4 weeks out of the year. So if you're not drinking or you're just getting a steak at dinner, people are probably like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Where's your vegetables?
Yes.
Where's your potato? Yeah, it was interesting. So at one point when I couldn't stay on Atkins and I did low carb and low fat, I lost quite a bit of weight, but I was like white knuckling.
White knuckling.
Yeah. So in those days, I mean, I weigh 125 pounds. In those days, I weighed anywhere from 165 to 185. And it depends on what year it was and how much I had dieted or over-exercised. And, you know, I was running marathons. I don't know if we ever talked about this,
I didn't know
but I used
that.
to run marathons. And I was overweight then. And I started running because I thought it would help me lose weight. But at the time, I was using those goos.
Goos, yeah, which are pure carbs and sugar.
Pure
terrible
sugar.
for your gut.
Gatorade and all kinds of carbs. I remember one running person used to carry a cooked baked potato chopped up into cubes in a Ziploc bag on her belt. So... yeah, it was crazy times.
Well, it's like that cliche statement, you really can't out-exercise a bad diet.
No.
And here you are, like 165, 185. You're literally doing marathons, which is the hardest physical accomplishment you could do. And you're still struggling to lose weight because it comes down to nutrition, not exercise with this stuff.
Yeah.
So what was kind of that like light bulb moment of not caring about societal pressures or just feeling like everything was really working and you were losing weight and feeling good and not struggling with PCOS and mental health issues? What were the biggest switches there that you made?
You know, once I kind of balanced out the staying active, eating enough fat but not too much, eating enough protein but not too much, because when you're in nutritional ketosis, you're not eating high protein. It's moderate protein and higher fat. And utilizing that type of protocol helps you heal the damage that you've done prior.
Yeah.
With all the other things that I had done. I think what basically happened is I stuck with it long enough that the switch kind of flipped. So I was healing and losing weight slowly. I was regaining my energy. And all of a sudden, I realized that what I was doing was working. But it took a while. It took a while. It took months. I think just like I found a way that I could kind of live, whether I lost the weight or not. And I just stuck with it. And it worked.
Were you able to get over the social pressure that you felt from working at Bank of America, like going out to dinners and stuff like that? Did you just decide to just like stop caring what other people thought? I stopped
caring.
Because you know how good, you just leaned into how good you felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped caring. And you know what else? I started seeing the reality of the environment I was in. When you go to these treasury management conferences, every 2 hours between sessions, they're serving food.
Yeah.
They're serving cookies. They're serving pastries. It's all high carb. And then everybody's tired after. You know, everybody goes back into session. Everyone's exhausted, except for me.
Yeah, and it makes you realize that you're doing something. I don't know if you ever feel like this. Because the space that we're in is such a bubble, because it's such a, it feels like, because we know so many people in the space, but it's still such a small fragment of the population that's doing this. Sometimes when I walk around places like airports, I don't have any other thought besides like, we're literally just poisoning ourselves as a society.
Yeah.
Like if you go to the Austin airport, it's just convenience stores with candy and Snickers bars and pre-made sandwiches. Like the only thing that I could get that would be lower carb is I go to Taco Deli and I get the salad with like extra steak.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I can get in the entire airport that's like somewhat on my diet.
Yep. Airports are, if airports are like a picture of what society is, we're in big trouble. You're right, 100%. It is a bubble. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, because I work in this space, pretty much everybody that I know is of a similar mindset. But when I step outside of that space, there are a lot of people who just really either don't know or don't care.
Yes.
And the don't know part I can deal with because I can help, but the don't care, those people are going to suffer, and I can't help them.
Yeah.
Airports, I mean, I don't want to say some of the things that I was thinking when I'm going through the airports. Airports, malls, and just going to Target and Walmart. Walmart's the worst.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad.
Because that's like, because these central gathering points of what you're talking about, of like large supermarkets, airports, grocery stores, that is the reflection of the U.S. population. So I think the statistic is that 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, and then 70% of U.S. adults are overweight or obese. So, you know, by that logic, 7 out of every 10 people that you're going to see are fat.
I would agree
and if you
with
go
that.
into the airport and you count off every 10 people, it's 100% true.
Yeah.
And you, like you said, you don't want to sound callous or talk about the thoughts in your head, but it's like you care about, you know, your fellow countrymen and countrywomen, and you know that there's this amazing solution that exists, yet it's a combination of just like not having access to the right information, and so many people are struggling. And the way that you talked about it almost felt like the light bulb went off when you nourish your body with the right foods and you have this amazing energy where you're waking up on your own at 7 without an alarm clock. You think like, I wish you could understand how good that I actually feel. And it's accessible to you too.
Right.
If you just made some of these very simple changes over a long enough time horizon. It's hard to see people go through that.
It really is. I think that when I look out at people and their shopping habits, so when I go to the grocery store, I think people are even more addicted than I was. maybe equally. Maybe I don't see it as well because I'm far removed from it now.
Yeah.
But people are not feeding themselves any nutrition at all. I mean, it's all food products.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had this discussion hundreds of times, you and I, about the ingredients that are in food, and they're intentionally designed.
Yeah.
These food products to keep people addicted. The stuff that's available to people today was not available when I was a kid.
No.
So that kind of scares me because I got addicted in the 70s when the worst thing you could get was like a bagel and maybe a TV dinner in an aluminum can at McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's like nothing compared to what's on the shelves today.
No. I saw that Taco Bell just released a Mountain Dew Baja Blast pie for dessert. And I'm just like, how is this, like, actually, how is this legal? It's insane.
Buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and you're right. Probably even something like Coca-Cola when you were a kid, it was probably sweetened with real cane sugar, not high fructose
and they
corn
were
syrup.
like this big.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the, what is it? The small size in the US is like a large size in Europe.
Right.
In McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. I mean, the statistic I've probably said 1,000 times on the show is that there's 40,000 products in the average grocery store, and they're really controlled by like 10 food conglomerates that are just really like artfully combining, seed oils, refined sugar, refined grains into these hyper addictive things.
Yeah.
And I think a lot about what you said about the concept of a food-like substance that's made in a laboratory that's designed to be highly addictive. It's like, there's literally no nutrients and there's no life to this when you look at a really good piece of like grass-finished meat that's ruby red and the rancher that grew it. It's like there's so much life and vitality to that. And most people are never even getting to experience. Like most people in the U.S. have never eaten a grass-finished meat, like a really good quality steak or like piece of chicken or something like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And it makes me just think about how much collective potential we're leaving on the table because there totally could have been this alternate universe where Robin just stayed in her, treasury job, 185 pounds, not happy. And like you look
I don't
at
know if I would be alive right now if I hadn't made those changes, honestly. I mean, I was miserable. I couldn't, I don't think I'd be alive right now.
Yeah.
Either physically something would have gone wrong or mentally I would have broken down.
Yeah.
It was tough, yeah.
Does your family, whether it's like Ryan, your husband, other people, do they ever comment on just like how different of a person you are now versus like 15 years ago?
My kids, remember me trying to be healthy when they were young. So like my other son, Sam, I think you met Sam last year. He was at the event.
I think I probably did. Yeah.
He's very fit and has always eaten well. And he follows a carnivore diet now. Ryan was always my difficult child. Like he didn't like anything, so I had to sneak good things into his food. I don't think they really remember me as fat. Like I have to show them pictures so that we can remember it. But my family, my dad was always asking me questions about what I was doing, but he never implemented anything.
Yeah.
My mother has become less critical and more supportive. I was recently at a dinner with her and my dad's brother. And my dad's brother said to me, Robin, why are you doing this? Why won't you eat this? Why won't you eat that? And my mother looked at him and she said, Fred, she doesn't want to end up like you.
Yeah.
Now, he has had several run-ins with cancer. He is probably 350 pounds. His feet are purple because he has no circulation and he can't walk. He's huge. God, I hope he doesn't ever hear this.
Yeah.
So my family is supportive. My sister thinks I'm a kook, but that's okay.
That's okay. We'll take that.
I don't care.
Parents are definitely the hardest to work on too. And even with my own parents, my mom is 60, so she grew up in like the low fat era. So when I told her about wanting to go carnivore when I was trying to heal ulcerative colitis, she thought I was out of my mind because it's counter to everything that she's been taught. And then as the years have gone on, not that she doesn't go carnivore, because I think she still has those. I think the way she justifies it is like, you're a young guy in their 20s, like you can get away with this, which is why I'm excited to share this podcast episode with her, because there's a woman of like similar age that eats a lot of saturated fat and does amazing. But even her, I've noticed, like, you know, intentionally doesn't cook with seed oils, uses high quality olive oil, like interested in buying ghee and things like that. So I think the best thing you can do, especially with a parent, is just try and be your own proof of work, and they will notice the changes in you, whether it's like, it sounds like your dad was curious of the things that you're doing, and your mom has seen the positive effects that a good diet has had on you too.
Yeah, she has.
Yeah.
You know, I think the one thing that we haven't talked about that I think is really interesting and also really beneficial for this journey. So when you stop the obsession with food and you're nourishing your body, you lose that, you know, always thinking about it. The one thing that we all have in common is that the snacking goes away. When the snacking goes away, then your insulin levels come down.
Yes.
And they stay down. And if you're not eating things that spike, you know, a glucose spike, your insulin levels will stay constant. And that's when the healing happens. That's when the food obsession goes away. And that's when the weight loss happens without thinking about it. So when I said earlier that freedom, I don't really think about food anymore. I don't think about whether or not I'm eating high fat or not.
Yeah.
I'm just eating. So I really think that the fasting piece, and we don't have to formally call it fasting, but when you're not snacking, you're fasting between meals.
Yes.
I really think that that's important. It has a huge impact on the success of what you're doing, because even if you're following a carnivore diet, if you're eating meat and fruit every few hours, the fruit's going to spike your insulin, obviously, but you're not getting that time period between food intake where there's nothing and your body is utilizing what you've taken in and healing. So the fasting piece, I think, is really important.
Yeah. I think it's a really helpful practice, especially in the beginning, because I don't really count calories anymore, and I'm sure you are too, where like you have an intuitive sense of how calorically dense certain foods are, and you understand how many calories you're burning and what you need to eat to be in a deficit or just continue to maintain the weight that you want. But I think it's a really helpful practice in the beginning for people to keep some type of a food journal, and like not even change your diet, but literally just keep note of how many things you're eating throughout the day and also the amount of calories. Because I think if people understood how many hidden calories are in a lot of the snack foods that you eat, you would stop eating them. Because your first response to someone that's going carnivore is, okay, you're telling me you're going to eat these 2 huge ribeyes every single day, but those are the only 2 things I'm eating for the entire day. Maybe some eggs for breakfast. Those 2 steaks are maybe 2,000 calories, absolute max. And I know if I'm working out, I'm burning 3,500 calories.
Right.
So I'm actually in a 1,500 calorie deficit. I could eat more, but there's so much satiety from the fat and the protein that you don't have that desire to snack anymore. You don't feel wired to just like need the pastries or the cookies like at an arm's length at all times.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just that desire, just that ability of feeling full from your food it's amazing.
Do you find that that there are times when like the cravings for those foods come back? Like it's around you, it's holidays or whatever. Do you find that those temptations revisit you every once in a while, that you have to consciously like put it away again?
Yeah, it's funny. Harry and I actually did a solo podcast episode. It was just a general title of how to eat healthy. And one of the things that we talked about is identifying your own emotional relationship with food. And I'm sure that, you know, there's diet coaches out there that say, you know, one bad meal is not going to kill you. It's, you know, if you're eating 21 meals a week, that's one meal. And I think they're absolutely right. But I know my own relationship with food is like, if I go back to New Jersey and I have pizza, it's not just going to be that one meal. I'm someone that just kind of can go off the deep end. So I either have to say like, look, I'm just going to go back to Jersey and I'm not going to worry about this week. I'm just going to enjoy my time with my family, have the Christmas cookies, the pizza, whatever. I'll probably put on like 5 to 10 pounds and then I'll just come back to Austin and be really strict. Or I just have to draw that line in the sand and say, I'm not going to have any of it. Because that's just my personal relationship with food, is I have this like all-in mentality.
I do too.
Yeah.
I was just... So the reason I asked you is because I've experienced this recently. So I find the behavior, the habit, revisiting me sometimes. When I'm at home and I'm like super stressed out about something related to the event and I'm trying to maneuver all these different pieces, And I find myself getting up without even realizing what I'm doing and walking in the kitchen. Luckily for me, I don't have anything in there that I would need anyway. But that like gut instinct, that habit of going to like solve a problem with food, I still find it. It still comes back once in a while.
Yes.
And there are times when I'm in a social situation, like at a birthday party or, at a holiday, whatever, with my granddaughter. And I'll just have one of those. And I have to be really intentional about, I've gotten much better at it, where I have to look at it and say, that could be one, but there will be 20 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or that could be one, and you're going to be out tonight looking for more of them later. Or that could be one, but when it snowballs into two more, you're going to feel like crap.
Definitely.
And I don't like feeling like crap.
No. Yeah, it's like you will never take nothing tastes better than how good you feel staying on this diet. Yeah. Like that piece of pizza, I know pizza's my favorite food. I'm from New Jersey, spent a lot of time in New York City. The pizza there is amazing. It doesn't taste better than how good I feel when I stay on the path.
Right.
And the weird thing is people think that it's unhealthy to talk like this, but I think what's unhealthy is not talking about your relationship with food. Like you mentioned, you had probably 30 plus years of kind of just eating ultra processed food because no one really talked about this stuff. So your relationship with food is like when things are going well, you probably eat something processed. Yeah. When things are going bad, I'm going to run towards processed food as well.
Yep.
So that's like 3 decades of being attached to that food. So no matter how good you feel, there's still going to be some of that wiring in your brain. So I think it's a good thing to just draw a line in the sand and understand how you are.
That attachment to food, when I was in my mid-30s, I went to an Overeaters Anonymous group. And I had never been to like an AA program or anything like that. I had always been so grateful that I didn't pick up alcohol, that it was food that I picked up, because I don't know that I ever could have quit drinking.
Yeah.
But I walked into this meeting, and the woman who introduced me to the concept sat me down, and she said that in order to abstain and to, rid yourself of this obsession with food, you had to give up flour and sugar, white flour and sugar. And I literally broke down into tears. My first answer was, so I could never eat bagels again? I was raised on bagels.
Yeah.
I could not believe the concept, just completely was overwhelming to me.
Because that's all you know at that point for food.
That's how emotionally attached. I mean, I literally broke down into tears. I was so upset. And now in retrospect, I mean, that's exactly what I do. And I have no emotional attachment to it anymore. But yeah, that addiction is hard to fight.
It is.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it ever truly goes away, because we're just surrounded by it. Food is entertainment. It's let's meet for dinner. It's celebration. It's at a funeral. It's everywhere. And so changing your relationship to what you think is appropriate to put in your body, or what you want to support yourself with nutrition, you have to be super intentional about it. I have to be super intentional.
And I'm the same way. And I think it's a combination of like principles and then also guardrails too. And like the principle is saying, hey, I'm going to stick to this diet. And then the guardrails are things like you're talking about of, I'm not going to keep any crap in the house at all.
Right.
Because you know that when you're stressed out, when 9 o'clock, you're trying to book a vendor or something falls through and your response is, I want to go eat. If there's something bad in the house, no matter how much you know about nutrition or low carb, you're still going to opt for that food because it's delicious and it's available at like an arm's reach.
Right.
Yeah. And then other things, I don't know if this is helpful for you too. Like for me, especially when I'm traveling, if I'm in an airport, just keeping really good quality snacks in my backpack as well. So like things like the carnivore bar or carnivore snacks or different meat bars, or just having those things on hand where I know I can just like because I know if I get like a quick protein fix or saturated fat, I'll feel good and I won't want to go off the rails. But for me, I just need to keep food on me a lot. I know fasting has worked for you. Are you similar where you try to keep snacks on you as well when you're traveling?
I go back and forth. I love all the brands that you just mentioned. I love carnivore snacks. my problem is I can't only eat one piece. I eat the whole bag.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So I like to have it with me, but for some reason, if it's with me, I'm eating it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I find that I'm better off not having anything with me and just, bringing a bottle of water.
Yes.
And electrolytes help with that too.
They do.
If it's with me, I'm probably going to eat it.
Yeah.
It's a combination of the stress of the stress of travel, the boredom of waiting around, that kind of stuff. I like to have it with me, but if it is with me, I'm probably going to eat it. And unless it's mealtime, I really don't need it, unless I'll eat when I'm not hungry if I have it with me.
I really hope Farmer Bill's sponsors a booth this year, because I think they're honestly, I've had so many meat products, and I hope no brands get mad at me, but I think Farmer Bill's is the best meat product I've ever had, because it's biltong, so it's like this South African beef jerky.
Okay.
And there are some bigger biltong brands in the US that they're mass produced, but when you have really good biltong, because they dry age it, it's very tender and very moist and flavorful. And he somehow is able to do that. It's like the best meat product I've ever had.
That sounds great.
It's so good. And there's a lot of fat in it too. So you can eat a pack and actually feel satiated afterwards as well. So if Mark's listening, I hope that he sponsors a booth. We'll get it. I'll push him. We'll get him too. So how many speakers are you going to have this year at Hack Your Health?
We've got, I said I wasn't going to do it again, but we've got more than 60.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
60 speakers over 3 days.
Yeah. Now, a lot of them, probably 20 of them are only speaking on panels. There's 19 keynote speakers, and 19 breakout sessions. And last year we got a lot of feedback. Did we talk about this already?
No.
Not, okay. Last year we got a lot of feedback that we had too many speakers. And too many things, every hour on the hour, someone on all 3 of the stages. So I've knocked that down. So we have one keynote and one breakout room happening at the same time. I'm not sure what we're going to do with those other breakout rooms yet. We may just leave them empty, may just let, people have meetings in there or record podcasts in there or stuff like that. But 70 some. It's going to be close to 70s.
That's incredible.
The other thing is we have Francesca Martinez, who is local, who's going to be doing body movement classes. She's considered a speaker.
Yeah.
So then we have someone coming in and doing breathwork classes, breathwork sessions. He's considered a speaker. So that kind of stuff adds to the total head count. But actual speakers on the stage, 65.
Wow. And it was honestly a really good problem to have, because it was more so I don't think most people, I wouldn't say that I felt overwhelmed. It was more so I love both of these people that are speaking at the same time, and you have to pick and choose who you want to go to.
Yeah.
And I think you're better off having that versus not having enough good speakers.
I would agree with you, but apparently other people didn't feel that way. And the other thing is that if the breakout rooms and the main stage are full, then people aren't on the expo hall floor. And so that's kind of a balance I have to find, because we want the vendors and the sponsors to have, foot traffic all day, every day. That's one of the reasons why we offer a one-day ticket, but it's on Sunday only. So Sunday's a shorter day. We close at 4 on Sunday, but that's to can drive more traffic on Sundays as well.
Got it. Are there any speakers or panels that you're particularly excited for this year?
Well, I'm super excited about the regenerative agriculture panel.
I'm excited about that too, since I will be co-hosting it with Harry.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I really think that that's a topic that unless you're in the circles that are talking about it, people are unaware.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I am really hoping to bring to this event is talking about things that you're not going to hear about every day. The movement towards regenerative agriculture is a grassroots movement that needs more attention, and it will grow. But the faster it grows, the better it's going to be for all of us. And I just think that those people that we're talking about in the supermarkets, they have no idea.
They have no idea.
No.
I think with a lot of this, to your point, I felt like I kind of went through 2 phases, where the first phase was just understanding what are the right foods that I should be eating,
Right.
which was really for me just shopping at the outer aisle of the grocery store. Had no idea what grass-fed versus grass-finished, what regenerative even meant. I was like, I'm just going to eat a lot of animal products, cut my carbs. That healed my stomach. And then stage 2 is like, where does my food actually come from? And I think if you just, like, 2 of the best hacks for your health are if you just meet your rancher directly and buy food from them, and then you just cook your meals, regardless of macronutrients, you're still going to be better off than like 99% of the population.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. We're going to have some great panelists, you know, Nate Pontius, Shurtail Creek. It's going to be the Weldons from the Warrens from Holy Cow Beef. That was so much fun last year. I think it's going to be even better this year too. Any other panels or speakers that you're excited about? Because you've got some huge names coming.
We really do. We're doing 2 carnivore panels this year. One to talk about the combination of using feasting and fasting on the carnivore plan. Another to talk about success stories and how to troubleshoot a carnivore diet. We have a food addiction panel this year. That's going to be in a breakout room.
That's very cool.
Yeah, balancing where to put these panels is sometimes hard for me because we want to maximize the keynote space because it's our biggest expense. And so we want as many people in that for each of those sessions as possible. Let's see, what other? Max Lugavere is speaking this year. That's new for us. My intention behind bringing Max in, I mean, we talked about the transition from a focus of the ketogenic diet to more of a well-rounded wellness concept for the event. Max brings a very balanced perspective to nutrition. I would really like to see us move away from the diet camps. You know, I'm carnivore, you're not. I'm keto, you're not. You know, I'm vegan, you're not. I would really like to see us move away from that and just talk about individuality because everybody's different. What works for me may not work for you, although in this case it does. And Max just brings this. I think his audience is not as metabolically deranged as my audience has been.
Yeah.
So they don't need to cut out all the things that I cut out, or they are not ready to. But his balanced approach kind of gets rid of diet camps. You know, it's more about whole food. And his story with his mother and having Alzheimer's and nutrition, how all of that ties together, is really impactful. So I'm really excited to have him speaking this year. Let's see, Dr. Annette Bosworth she's become a good friend of mine as well. She is such an incredible storyteller. When she gets on stage, she's captivating. And so she's going to be talking about something this year that we've never addressed, and that's uric acid. And I'm not even familiar with her conversation or what this is going to be about other than the topic. But knowing her background and how she treats her patients with the ketogenic diet and fasting, I'm sure that's all going to tie together.
Definitely.
Gosh, there's so many.
What about, is Bill Schindler doing his cooking demo this year?
Bill Schindler is not going to be there this year.
But James from Pluck, James Berry will be.
James Berry will
right?
be there. Pluck will have a booth, and James is going to be speaking in a breakout room, and he's also going to be doing a cooking demo.
I can't wait for that demo. He's brilliant. For anyone that doesn't know him, he's the founder of Pluck, so it's an organ-based seasoning. And he was a very high-level chef. Like, I think he worked with actors like Tom Cruise and like the A-list of the A-list, helping do meal prep for them too. And that's why he's so perfect for this product, because so many people have issues with the palatability, like just the taste of organs.
Right.
And so like every shake of Pluck tastes so good. And then you're also getting like a micro dose of organs too. So I'm excited to see what he's going to whip out for that cooking demo as well.
Yeah. Do you know Courtney Luna?
That name sounds very familiar.
She just is in the process of publishing a cookbook. She's going to be doing a cooking demo also. She's carnivore. Maria Emmerich is going to be doing a cooking demo. And let's see, Ben Azadi will be there again this year.
He's great.
He's going to be doing, not only doing a keynote, but also doing a book signing and a book giveaway. Annette Bosworth is also going to be doing a book signing and book giveaway, and I think she's going to be giving away a bunch of CGMs too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Sean Baker will be speaking. Ben is also doing a fireside chat with Michael Feldstein, who is the owner of Jasper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they're going to be talking about like air quality in your home and that kind of stuff.
Is Dr. Chafee, is he speaking too?
Yes. Dr. Chafee, Dr. Kiltz, and Sean Baker, Dr. Sean Baker, they're all going to be part of that carnivore feasting and fasting panel.
That is a high-powered
That's going
panel
to be
between
a
them.
powerful panel, yeah.
That's amazing. One of the things that I think a lot of people have noticed, whether it was KetoCon, now rebranded Hack Your Health, the carnivore speakers and panels in particular, it seemed like anytime there was something carnivore related, it was like you couldn't find a seat. Why do you think that is, and why do you think the carnivore movement in general is built up so much steam?
I think it's twofold. One, because diet camps, but two, because I mean, a lot of people have to take it a step further than low carb and keto. They're metabolically damaged or they're physically damaged, and they need to do an elimination diet. And like you and like myself have found significant healing by removing those things from our diet, but keeping the meat. And I mean, it speaks for itself. It's just exploding because people are finding healing with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think it's too early to tell if this is going to peak and drop like keto did. But I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
You know?
The reason why I don't think it's going to drop is that it's like when you look at just the rate of chronic disease or even autoimmunity, it's like it's skyrocketing every single year. And I just haven't come across a diet where you just see such drastic healing case studies. And I think as podcasting becomes bigger and bigger and we like lean into anecdote and personal healing journeys, more people are just going to have these stories that they want to share. And it exposes a different route to people that have just been on the medical merry-go-round for years. And it almost feels like you're cheating, where you're saying to yourself, all I'm going to do is like eat red meat or animal products and I can, lose 50 pounds and get off the meds. And it's like, yes, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
But then there's this weird, I like how you said diet camp too, because then there's almost like this weird mental aversion to vegetables and fruits and some grains where they're like, so if I eat some vegetables, I'm not on team carnivore. And it's like, I do think after a certain period of time, when you build good like intestinal permeability, you should experiment with some of these foods and see if they work for you.
Yeah. What have you incorporated back into your diet?
I'm still 90% meat-based. I would say that it really just depends on my day. I have some days where I'll eat just straight red meat and animal products. I'll have some days where I'll do some berries that are a little bit lower glycemic. I'll throw in some white rice, some sweet potatoes. I tend to try and always keep my carbs like under 100 grams. And just with like my genetics, I feel like the lower carb that I go, I just stay really lean and my gut feels really good.
Yeah.
But I would say berries, white rice, sweet potatoes, basic stuff. But if I overdo it, I definitely notice it.
Feel it, right.
And it's so, even something like rice is like steak and rice is so good, but it's so easy. I mean, a cup of rice has like 75 grams of carbs. So it's just so easy to overeat that stuff.
Yeah. I can't do rice. Rice and butter was a comfort food for me as a kid. So I can't do it. But, I eat, cucumbers occasionally, avocado, strawberries, blueberries, and Greek yogurt, olive oil. Every few months, I'll buy asparagus and eat asparagus. I love asparagus, but I don't do it often. I in comparison to the days when it was like a vegetarian or when I was a raw vegan.
Yeah. You were raw vegan? I didn't know that. Yeah.
I've done it all.
You've done it. You've tried it all.
Even the pills. I mean, I have done it all. I just find that I feel best just keeping it super simple. Super simple. Yeah.
The unsexy things always work, right? And just doing it for like, when you said that you were overweight, it's like it's thousands and thousands of iterations of the wrong food that get you to that point.
Yeah.
And then also like this diet, it's like thousands of iterations of the right thing will get you out of that state too.
Right. Right.
How about raw milk? Will you do anything like raw milk, or do you just find that the carbs and sugar aren't great for
I
you?
haven't, but I would.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I've really felt called to do.
Yeah. It's gained huge traction and it is super nutrient dense. And I know Chafee's not a huge fan of it because he's like, if I drink that, I'll just drink like a gallon of it, and then it's just way too many carbs and sugar. But a lot of people, it digests really well. It's super nutrient dense. But again, like anything else, I think you can overdo it too. So it's kind of just figuring out what your relationship is to it and stick to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about bone broth? Do you like bone broth?
I love bone broth.
So good.
Yeah. I like to make my own the best.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. But there's a few brands that I like. There's going to be this year a new vendor for us, Beauty in the Broth. Look her up. She might be a great podcast guest for you too.
That's a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a great story. And she's going to be there, serving bone broth. Yeah. I really like bone broth. I like the soothing of bone broth. It feels very soothing. Sometimes if I'm not feeling well, I just have bone broth rather than anything else.
Yeah, if you're fasting, that's like the perfect food to just sip on and incorporate that.
Yeah.
There are times where I felt like my stomach has been inflamed and I'll have like 2 cups of bone broth and I swear my stomach feels way better afterwards. Down. Yeah. But just like the amount of like gelatin and fat that you get making it in your own, the only, there's like 2 places, I can't wait to try, what is it? Beauty in the
Broth.
Beauty in the Broth. Fawn bone broth has like really good, it seems like they have a lot of gelatin in theirs and their spices are delicious.
Yes.
And then Perennial Pastures, which is a farm in San Diego, they have a lot of gelatin in theirs too.
I haven't tried that.
But like I love Kettle and Fire. I love the team, but it kind of seems more like beef water too. So it's better to just make it on your own.
Yeah, I'd like to make it on my own.
Yeah. So remind me, what are the dates of Hack Your Health this year? I almost slipped up. You hear me almost slip up?
I do it
myself.
too.
Yeah.
I do it too. It's May 31st through June 2nd.
May 31st through June 2nd. Yeah. So it's 3 days, 60 plus speakers, 100 plus vendors, amazing networking. And it's only $250 for a ticket, right?
Yeah, they're $249 right now. The ticket prices do go up March 1st. So it'll go up to $299.
I mean, I remember hearing that for the first time when Harry and I were going to buy tickets in 2022. And I just remember thinking, that is such a fairly priced event for the amount of value you're packing. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. Like, it's such an affordable thing.
Well, I'm trying to make it affordable to as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah. And that's the goal, right? Is just trying to impact as many people as possible. That's why you're doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do have a Meat Mafia discount code, right?
Do.
Yep. So it's literally just code Meat Mafia. And then what will that get?
It will take $50 off the ticket. So it'll take $50 off of any of the ticket types. So we have a general admission ticket that's $249. We have a VIP ticket that's $9.99. We have a virtual replay pass, and we also have a one-day pass for Sunday only. That's $99. So you can purchase any of those tickets and use the code, and it will apply to the total.
And the VIP experience is pretty amazing. I know it's a steeper price point, but it's definitely worth the experience.
I hope so. I mean, we're trying to pack as much of that into that as we can. The VIPs we set up a VIP lounge. It's in the center of the expo hall, but that's where they go. You can get free coffee, and it's not free because you're buying a VIP ticket, but VIP people have access to this. Refreshments. And then this year we're doing something a little different. One of the breakout rooms upstairs that we used to use for VIP sessions with speakers, we're creating a relax and recharge room upstairs.
Nice.
So if VIP people want to get away from the the noise and the overwhelming stuff in the event, they can go upstairs and relax upstairs. Then they get front row seating at all of the keynote presentations. They get a fully stacked, hard to carry home bag with stuff from all the sponsors. And they get an event shirt, an event water bottle, and the VIP dinner on Friday night, which is going to be held right down the street. Well, not right down the street from here, but it's at VUCA on Monroe.
Yeah.
And it's a catered event where there'll be food from Holy Cow Beef and from our caterer, creating as much as we can there. We've got a comedian coming in. And I'm just in the process of finalizing a contract with a band to play out there. So that space, I was just there this morning meeting someone. They have an inside-outside space. I've used that venue before, but we only use the inside. So this year we're going to spread out to the outside. It's huge back there. And so there'll be a band back there and refreshments. And
you're doing it big.
I'm trying.
It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it.
I mean, if you're going to go to an event like this, it should be like a positive experience. You should walk home not walk home. You should go home with new contacts, with new friends, and feeling like you have like absorbed information or gotten tools that you need to help improve your life.
Yeah. And that's why we were so excited to have you on the show. I think one of the coolest things about this whole space in general is like, and I know you feel this too, you just meet the best hearted people. And I feel like there's so many people that I met and maybe started working with from a business capacity that have become like close personal friends. And I feel like that's the perfect example of who you and Ryan are to Harry and I. And I mean, it's been a huge launching pad for our business. Like I was saying, the number of podcast guests, being able to launch Noble there, the network, the community we've built. It's been a huge launch pad for our business. And above anything else, we just really just love the heart and soul that you're putting into it and believe that you are changing people's lives. And we're all in on what you're doing. And obviously you're a great friend now. So we just really appreciate you having the conversation and just thank you for all the amazing work that you're doing, because we need people like you to really push this movement in the right direction.
Thank you. That really makes me feel good to hear you say that. I appreciate it.
And I think a lot of other people would say that too.
Thank you.
So thank you, Robin. Appreciate it.